to address any issue before us? Seeing none, we're going to move over now to...
Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
we've had several residents over the past several months ask about the HHS ruling and when that was coming. I know Mrs. Fishman's been up every month asking about that. We have not received anything from HHS, but I wanted to make the public aware that today we received a letter from the Attorney General's office in regards to a ruling, and I would like to read that letter into the citizens' minutes so everyone can hear it firsthand, as we promised as soon as we would know anything.
Sure.
The Pennsylvania Criminal History Record Information Act, CHRIA, which became effective on January 1980, applies to any person or agency of the Commonwealth and its political subdivisions that collects, maintains, disseminates, or receives criminal history record information. CHRIA not only sets forth procedures for reporting arrests, for fingerprinting, and for relying finally dispositions and expungement information, but it also establishes guidelines for the collection and dissemination of intelligence, investigation, and treatment information, which is specifically earmarked under the statute as protected information. The Office of Attorney General, OAG, is tasked with auditing compliance with CHRIA's provisions, investigating suspected violations of the statute, and imposing sanctions where provisions of the statutes or rules and regulations thereunder have been violated. I am writing to advise you that an audit of Monroeville, Allegheny County Police Department, MPD, by my office has determined that CHRIA was violated on numerous occasions when unauthorized individuals, including members of the Monroeville Volunteer Fire Department and private citizens, were able to access records maintained by the Monroeville 911 Center. These violations occurred in the wake of actions taken to update the emergency management dispatch system. At the time the updated became operational, it complied with CHRIA, and the ability to access protected information was appropriately restricted by CHRIA's requirements. However, things subsequently changed due in significant part by the use of generic usernames and passwords as opposed to usernames and passwords which uniquely identify a person's access to the system, something that allowed individuals improperly to access information without being identified. Anyone posing the generic password was able to view ordinarily inaccessible protected information, including records of police calls, which often contain sensitive information, dissemination of which might cause harm to members of both law enforcement and the public. Certain members of the MFFD, Monroeville Fire Department, provided the generic usernames and passwords to members of the general public. In the course of our review, we found that Monroeville 911 Center records were accessible to unauthorized individuals from August 9th, 2010, the date of the initial activation, until February 7th, 2013, the date on which MFFD access to the system was terminated. There was, we determined, unauthorized access to emergency medical services, paging, and to CAD records regarding police calls. Our investigation into this matter, Mr. Mayor, are you?
I'm listening. I have the letter.
Okay. Our investigation into this matter also found that in at least one specific incident-related instance, official MPD records were tampered with, altered, removed, or destroyed, although it did not establish the responsible party. Information we gathered showed that, apart from the requirements of CHRIA, the conduct involved here also violated provisions of the Monroeville Employee Handbook, which applies to all employees and the MPD. We must note, too, that in addition to our review of this matter, there were also 2 local investigations, one a security audit of the EMD, and another conducted by an independent law firm at the behest of the U.S. Department of Health, which focused on improper accessing of records containing protected information. Various individuals who were subsequently found to have improperly accessed such records were subject to discipline and were terminated from their public employment. As indicated previously, my office is authorized to impose administrative sanctions or to seek court-imposed penalties for violations of CHRIA. After careful review, we have concluded that in this instance, the violation will be dealt with administratively. We have to come to this conclusion for several reasons. This is the first instance of violation of the Act, and the Monroeville Police Department's management fully cooperated with all audits and demonstrated concern about eliminating problems that caused this violation. MPD management also proceeded to take suitable action to accomplish this and to deal appropriately with those individuals who were determined to have engaged in improper conduct. However, we must caution that should conduct of this sort recur, or should policies that lead to this violation be reinstituted in the future, we will pursue the more stringent civil and criminal sanctions available. And that's signed by Larry Churba, Executive Deputy Attorney General for the Criminal Law Division of the Attorney General's Office.
No, grab a seat there. I'm going to address a couple issues. Number one, as you all know, I'm the one that called the Attorney General last week because Mr. Dice was not going to be here and requested that he meet with us today. He granted that request. Obviously, some of us at council, as well as myself, would not be able to make the 6 o'clock meeting. On Tuesday, Mr. Churba called me on my cell phone. He told me point blank he was going to send myself a letter, which he did, the manager and the solicitor. He did not want to come to Monroeville at this time because of the political mess in Monroeville. And just to be very frank, none of this information should have been released to the public yet, and I'm going to tell you why. It's still under investigation. It's still not complete. There'll be more coming out, I assure you, in the next couple of months. This was going to be used as a political football, and that's what I see tonight. It was released. When that call went out, when I talked to Deputy Attorney General Churba on Wednesday, it wasn't even 12 hours later, I got calls from the media on about the attorney, why is the Attorney General coming here? This letter came out. Once it hit here, I got calls again, almost immediately when they knew the letter was coming. Again, I don't know who released it. I have my thoughts on it. But again, this is, again, an investigation that is not done with HHS, certainly not done with the CHRIA stuff.
You're correct, Mayor. It's not done with HHS.
I am not done talking.
Okay, well, this is complete. This is their.
That is correct. But
So
the
you're
investigation is still not done.
With the.
Can I ask a
HHS.
question,
The
Mayor?
Attorney General's office?
Oh, no, it is done with them. They're going to
Correct.
administer. That is
Mayor,
correct.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who found these individuals to be guilty? Churba, or was it internal?
You know what? We shouldn't really be talking about this. Let's let the investigation wrap up.
Was it an internal investigation from our department that found these individuals?
I don't know that, Steve. I can't answer that. That I don't know. But again, I think.
Lynette, would you know?
I don't know. The mayor talked to the Attorney General. I did not. I just received a phone call that they wanted to meet on October 30th. They asked for dates. We provided them dates. Then the mayor canceled the meeting, moved it to tonight.
So what
And
I
got
I
a
read
voicemail
into it
message
is
that
that
the meeting
they're
wasn't gonna occur.
satisfied with the outcome of our internal investigation.
Correct. and that's why.
With the
So then-
corrections that were made.
Then these
Corrections.
individuals
Considering
were-
that we stopped the system, we did not allow it to continue, the fact that we
I guess my point is,
disciplined
this
and
could have been
reprimanded the
politically
employees that were
motivated
taking
or
place in the
fine.
action is why we did not receive sanctions in this municipality.
Well, again, there's more information that has not been looked at, and I'm just going to leave it that generically.
Now, this is not HHS's role.
No, I
This is
understand.
the Attorney General's.
Lynette, I am very well aware.
Beth Fishman, Monroeville. It has been set up here before by the former IT person that Chief Pascarella is the one responsible for those passwords. I know you can't comment because it's a personnel matter, but I hope the proper discipline is taken against him if he's found.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask that everybody please let the investigation wrap up with HHS.
Do you know, Lynette, do you know?
No, this is in
if they-
reference
can I
to
just
the
ask, like,
district attorney.
Yeah, did they
Oh,
do
that's a-
their,
Attorney General.
did they do their own investigation, or are they based, I think that's what Steve was asking, did they do their own, or are they basing it on ours?
They did their own investigation.
Their people, not
Correct.
based on anything that we've done before through any
This
other
was their
investigations?
own.
Well, that's not the
investigation.
statements. The statements are they're satisfied with our investigation.
They're satisfied with the outcome of what we produced here over the last 10 months to stop the issue.
And again, there's more to that that will come out.
It says I'm.
You're not getting my point.
Not on the- we
The
got you.
disciplinary actions that were taken were from us, not through,
Yeah. They did it, they said they did an audit. So they did an audit.
You know what, again, I'm going to caution council to please, let's let this thing wrap up. And Steve, and I'm not saying that you don't have a right to know that. I think maybe what you want to do is talk privately with Bruce and, you know, maybe get your answers that way, or Lynette, or both. I really don't want to put us in any jeopardy with HHS. That's the last thing we need. Certainly don't want to upset the Attorney General's office. I think what the letter said, there were violations. That came out publicly here at some of these meetings, that we knew that. But the good news is it was corrected. They accepted that, the Attorney General's office. The real big issue is HHS has to wrap this up. That could be tomorrow, it could be 3 months from now. They're the federal government. They move at their own discretion, and you all know that. So, please, I would caution everybody, let the system work. As I stated to you, unless we're court-ordered, I would release it. As your mayor, I think you have a right to know everything that goes on in this town. But again, if we are court-ordered, we can't do that. I will explain that to you. You may not like that answer, but if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. But in my world, I think you should have a right to know everything that goes on.
Are you referring to the HHS?
Yes. But again, so like I said, let's just, is there anybody else would like to address council? We'll before I close this portion of the meeting. All right, we're going to close the portion of the Citizens Night meeting. We'll move over to the public budget meeting. Lynette, if you would.
I don't have anything, if there's any.